And then we're looking at summary writing. In fact, we have already taken a look at 3 episodes already. We have looked at 3 episodes. And then we have seen how to answer questions on summary. We have looked at what a summary passage is all about. And we said that in a summary passage, when questions are asked, you are expected to understand the passage. It is very important that you understand the passage. Number 2, you are supposed to look for where the answer is. Look out for where the answer is. And when you see the answer might be made up of several things. For example, the answer might be made up of numbers, adverbs, adjectives. It is your duty to be able to write the answer in your own words and again in a simple sentence form, devoiding the use of all the illustrative materials, including adverbs, adjectives, statistical numbers, and any other information. Very happy to host it for today. Last week, we're going to look at what we did last week. Just briefly, so that we can depend on that and then look at what we'll be studying for today. For last week, we look at several examples, but I'm going to give you only one of the examples we looked at for last week. And below, you should be seeing it on your screen right now. So this was one of the extracts or the paragraphs we looked at last week, and I said that this extract is from SSCE July 2003, the core subject. With your permission, I'm going to read it aloud and quickly look at the answers we give under this one. The indulgence in drugs by the youth who are unemployed tends to deaden their consciences and make them prone to committing any kind of crime. Robbery has its peculiar attraction for them. Successfully executed, it provides funds for continuing indulgence in drugs. Under the influence of drugs, the addicts rob with violence and impunity. So we look at the question below. The question below, we said, state in 3 sentences, one for each, how drug addiction promotes armed robbery. Based on the information above, state in 3 sentences, one for each, how drug addiction promotes armed robbery. Quickly, these were the answers we said was suggested, and they were okay for the question. They were okay. So if you look at these 3 answers, all of them are in simple sentence forms and they are straight to the point. No other addition of adverb or adjective. A, that's number 1. Drugs deaden or kill or numb the consciences of the drug addicts. 2, drugs compel addicts to rob. 3, drugs stimulate addicts to commit any crime. That's fine. So we give a little commentary, and the commentary should help you. We said that the first 3 answers are in simple sentences. In fact, they are brief, they are clear, and then they are specific. Therefore, those kinds of answers are acceptable. Yes, they are acceptable. However, last week I gave you another set of 3 answers. You would see that although they resemble the answers we looked earlier, these answers are generalized. They are not specific. to the answers that is demanded from you, the candidate or the student, right? So please always let your attention be drawn to the specificity of the answer, and it should be mostly in your own words, and it should be straight to the point. That's fine. Let's go on. Today's lesson objective. Today we are going to look at something very interesting. And it is interesting in the comes of today's lesson. You should be able to, number one, please take note. If you have pen and paper there, I always entreat you to hold a pen and paper or pencil or whatever, any writing instrument, because I'm going to be asking you questions based on some information I'm going to be putting up here. So I kindly entreat you to get a pen and a paper close to you. And you can as well write these learning objectives. They are very important. Number one, by the end of the lesson today, you should be able to properly use the conjunction and in answering a summary question. Again, you should be able to properly use the conjunction and in answering a summary passage. So you can see that I've put the and in quotation marks, A and D. Yes, A and D. It's very important that you know how to use it, because if you're not able to use it properly, you will cause a lot of problems to yourself. Number two, you should be able to identify a topic sentence in a paragraph. And a topic sentence, again, is where you are going to obtain your answer from. So when they ask you a question, if you are able to obtain the topic sentence, that is where the answer will be. But how do you write the answer? And we have looked at that previously. We have looked at how to write the answer previously. Again, I'll be emphasizing on how you should write your answer. But again, the key to answering a summary passage is your understanding of the passage, number one, and how you be able to write the answers mostly in your own words. Let's go ahead. Now, the word and, we all know is a conjunction. A conjunction is any word that brings together two sentences or two words together. Again, a conjunction is a word that brings together two sentences or two words together. So you can say Mary and Kofi. So you can say that the word and here is bringing together Mary and Kofi, right? But when you come to a summary passage, the word and may be used in three different ways. Number one, the word and may be used to merely repeat a point. So you have a point. For example, the car is old. The car is old. The word the car is old. This is a point. This is one sentence. But if I add certain things to it, for example, the car is old and rickety. The car is old and rickety. You would see that although I brought the word and here, the sentence is still the same. Because when I say the car is old and rickety, the word conjunction here and the word rickety is only adding more information or making more emphasis on the sentence, the car. Therefore, sometimes we use the word and to just make sure that we bring in more emphasis on a sentence or a point. Number 2, the word "and" may be used also to link two complementary points occurring as one main point. And I'm going to give you examples under all this, so don't worry. We'll be seeing examples under all this so that we understand it better. To link two complementary points occurring as one main point. Now, what do we mean by two complementary points? And we will see that when I begin to expatiate these things to you. Number 3, the word "and" is used to link two or more completely different points. The word "and" is used to link two or more completely different points. Sometimes in a sentence, "and" is used to bring together two different points. So when you are asked a question in that circumstance, how do you answer it? So these are the 3 main things, or the 3 main ways "and" is used in a summary passage. Now let's take the first one. Number 1, what should you do in the case of a repetition? So we are going to look at the first one. The first one where we said "and" is used just to what? Merely make an emphasis. If you come across that situation, what will you do? What will you do? Let's take these examples. When "and" is used for the purpose of repetition, you should state the idea only once. This means the repeated idea should be ignored. Please take note again. When "and" is used for the purpose of repetition, you should state the idea only once. This means that the repeated idea should be ignored. And we are going to look at how to ignore. For example, just a minute. So for example, please take notes. If possible, kindly write this sentence down. Yes, I need you all to write this sentence down because I'm going to ask a question and I will need you to give me an answer before I continue. Essie has no friends because of her repulsive and repugnant attitude. Again, Essie has no friend because of her repulsive and repugnant attitude. Essie has no friend because of her repulsive and repugnant attitude. The question is, how would you write your answer? If you are asked a question to summarize, for example, in one sentence, state the attitude of Essie. Again, in one sentence, state the attitude of Essie. It is my hope that you have written this sentence down, and right now I will need you to give me an answer before I proceed. So I'm going to stop sharing the slide. Take your answers before I continue. Yes, so if anyone is ready with his answer, kindly tell me what you have obtained. I have Daniel Asamoah, I have Dominic, I have Florence Akosia, Ibrahim Sule, Jefta Ampofu, Johnson Saka, Kelvin Amusa, Makanyaku, Priscilla, Samuel Asiedu, Teresa, Sandra, or Obinewa. Please, let's be interactive so that I know that we are moving on the same page. Is anyone ready with his answer? If you're ready, you can unmute yourself and talk to us. Yes, Jefta, please.
Okay. So AC has a rude behavior.
Go ahead, Jefta.
AC has a rude behavior.
Again?
AC has a rude behavior. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other person? Yes, any other person? Okay. And yes, ma'am. I can't hear you. You can't hear me.
No, I second him.
Oh, okay, okay, fine. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you are doing that's fine. So let's go back to the slides and take a look at something. So we will quickly look at it and then give you an answer to this is this thing again, the sentence. AC has no friends because of her repulsive and repugnant attitude. It's true. In one sentence, if you want to tell me the attitude of AC, you say AC has a rude attitude or AC is a rude person. Okay? But I want you to take a look at the last four sentences. Repulsive and repugnant attitude. Okay? Repulsive and repugnant attitude. This is where my attention is. The use of the word "and" between repulsive and repugnant is what I want you to look at. You can see that if we say, for example, AC has no friends because of her repulsive attitude, that would be fine. That would be a single sentence. But the word repugnant here has been added just to emphasize the bad behavior of AC. So when you are writing your answers, when you are asked, for example, in two sentences, one for each, write down the attitude of AC in two sentences. Okay? It's going to be like this. So this is the way you should write your answer. Number one, Essie has no friends because of her repulsive attitude. So you can see that I didn't bring the two things together, repulsive and repugnant. And that will not be summary. That will not be a correct answer in writing summary. That will not be a correct answer. So you must take them one after the other. Essie has no friends because of her repulsive attitude. Number two, or your answer can be this way. Essie has no friend because of her repugnant attitude. Essie has no friend because of repugnant attitude. So on its own, put them together. That wouldn't be correct, and that is the correct way of answering a summary passage. Let's go ahead. Another example under repetition. We are going to look at another example under repetition. So we are still under point 1. Please write this sentence down. He is meticulous and studious in writing his book. He is meticulous and studious in writing his book. Give me feedback. This time around, I'm going to mention your names. And with humility, kindly give us an answer, please. I need you to be interactive with me. Again, he is meticulous and studious in writing his book. How would you write an answer to a question like this? How does he write his book? That's the question I'm asking under this short sentence. How does he write his book? I didn't bring a name, so I can say Kofi is meticulous and studious in writing his book. So, for example, how does Kofi write his book? How does Kofi write his book? How does Kofi write his book? So, go ahead. Yes, I can hear you.
Kofi writes his book slowly.
That's fine. That's fine. That is one aspect of it. That's why it's correct. Do you wish to add another one?
Yes, slowly and down.
Okay, so if you say slowly and dull, you are bringing together two things here. So you can choose to separate them. So for example, if you ask in 2 sentences, 1 for each, how does Kofi write his book? So you can say, for example, Kofi writes slowly. Okay? That is one aspect, and that will be fine. Or you can say Kofi writes in a dull manner. Kofi writes in a dull manner. That will also be fine. Any other person?
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Kofi writes his book carefully.
Again?
Kofi writes his book carefully.
Fantastic. That's fine. You have done very well. You've done very well.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
He goes carefully and conscientiously.
Again?
So Kofi writes his books precisely and conscientiously.
Okay. So that's fine.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
he is scrupulous in writing his books.
He's what?
Scrupulous.
What scrupulous?
Second again.
Kindly spell the word scrupulous.
Okay. Scrupulous. SCUPULOUS.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So in fact, you have all done great. You have all done great. Okay. Yes, yes.
He is tedious in writing.
A very great answer. I like your answer. I like your answer. Go ahead. That's fine. That's fine. So Let's look at how the answer should be. In fact, all what you have said is correct. It's very correct. So let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. So if I don't want to use the word meticulous, I must use another word that means the same as meticulous. You know, meticulous simply means someone who takes his time to write very properly. So in other way, I can say he properly writes in his book. He properly writes in his book. But my focus here is the use of the word end. If you look at the sentence I've given you above, meticulous and studious are all emphasizing how Kofi writes in his book. Okay? Meticulous and studious are all emphasizing how he writes in his book. So when you are asked to write an answer, you don't go ahead and write the two things, especially when they use end to bring together meticulous and studious, two different points to tell you how one thing is done. Again, two different points to tell you how one thing is done. You must write it one after the other. You don't put all the two together. So we say the answer should be he is meticulous in writing his book. Again, we can say, for example, or your answer can be in this way. He is studious in writing his book. That's fine. That's fine. I like your answers. You are doing very well. Let's go to the second point. Number 2. What should you do in the case of two complementary points? So this is the second point on how to use end. What should you do in the case of two complementary points? And this is what you must do. When end is used to connect two complementary ideas, you have to generalize the two sub-ideas into one idea. And you see what we mean by this. Complementary ideas are kind of ideas that are about the same. Again, when we say complementary ideas, they are two ideas that mean the same. So when you have been able to identify or having a complementary idea, when you are asked to write an answer from it, you must not write the two ideas together. You must bring them together in your own words. Write one word for the two. Let's look at how that one will pan out. For example, please write this sentence down. I beg you. Take the next 30 seconds to write this sentence down. The gases and the fumes from the factories spoiled and destroyed the natural home of many forms of wildlife. The gases and the fumes. The gases and the fumes. The gases and the fumes from the factories spoiled and destroyed the natural home of many forms of wildlife. I'm going to ask a question right now. And I expect you to answer my question. Yes. Yes, let me give it to you again. Let me give it to you again, please. I'll go back to the slide and I'll give it to you again. Okay. So kindly write it down when you see it. So we said, again, the gases and the fumes from the factory, the gases and the fumes from the factory the gases and the fume from the factory spoiled and destroyed the natural home of many forms of wildlife. I'm going to ask a question right now, and kindly interact with me. And the fumes from the factories spoiled the natural homes of many forms of wildlife. Now, this is the question. In one sense, called the natural home of wildlife. If, by the way, in one sentence, state what destroyed and spoiled the natural home of wildlife. So after you give me your answer, I'll tell you one thing. I'll break this down for you to understand. Remember, we are talking about complementary points. So I'll show you where the complementary point is in this sentence. The gases and the fumes from the factories spoiled and destroyed the natural home of many forms of wildlife. In one sentence, state what destroyed and spoiled the natural home of wildlife. If you're ready with your answer, please let me know.
Sir. Sir.
Go ahead.
The gases from the factory.
Okay, so yes, so give me a complete sentence. Give me a complete sentence.
The gases from the factory destroy the natural homes of many forms of wildlife.
Okay, fine. Any other person?
Sir.
Yes, I'm listening.
Sir.
The natural home of wildlife was destroyed by gases from factories.
Okay, so you said gases, right?
Yes.
Sir.
Okay. So go
Destroy.
ahead.
Can you say air pollution destroyed the homes of many animals in the wildlife?
Yes, I like your answer. Don't worry. Every answer is accepted, so don't worry. For now, I'm taking answers, okay? But your answer is acceptable, okay?
Okay.
Any other person? Yes, any other person? Please, it looks like only 4 people are talking. I need the others to come on board, please. Any other person? Okay, so now let's look at something here. If you go back to the example I've given you, we said this is the sentence. The gases and fumes. The gases and fumes. Now take note of gases and fumes. Gas, and so you can see end is there. The end here is the conjunction. okay, is a conjunction bringing together the words gases and fumes. So it is these two things which are the same actually. Gases and fumes are the same. Therefore, although we have 2 points here, gases and fumes, they are the same. They are complementary. They can be used in place of each other. Therefore, what we must do here is that we are supposed to generalize these two things and use one word for it. Someone is disturbing with his door there. I need you to put yourself on mute. Please check if you're on mute. Okay, so let me continue. Gases and fumes can be used in place of each other. Therefore, in this circumstance, you are supposed to generalize gases and fumes, right? Gases from the factory spoiled or destroyed the natural homes of animals. You won't get the answer correct. Because in the sentence, it is not only gases that destroyed. Fumes too have destroyed. Therefore, why do you write one and leave another? But you were asked to write only one. Only one. So you are supposed to generalize gases and fumes and write them together as your answer. So this is how your answer should look like. 1. So I like it. Air pollution. Air pollution. Because gases and fumes are all air pollutants. They are all air pollutants. So when you say air pollution damage the home of wildlife, it is acceptable. When you say gases, or you can even say dangerous gases damage the home of wildlife, that is acceptable. I hope you understand me. So here you are supposed to generalize it and write the answer in your own words. That is why we are supposed to understand the passage. Let's go ahead. So I'm saying that here I'm pollution because they are all polluting the environment. Let's go to the third point. Let's go to the third point. So we have seen the example under complementary point. And please, I said use in place of another, and they can be generalized into one word. So in most situations, you will find this kind of situations when answering a summary passage. Number 3. When the word "and" is used to connect two completely different ideas. Two completely different ideas. When the word "and" is used to connect two completely different ideas. In our second point, the ideas were complementary. They were the same. Okay. In this third point, the ideas that have been brought together by the word "and" are not the same. Let's look at an example. What happens in that situation? You should write your answer or the two ideas in two separate sentences. Again, you should write your sentence in two separate sentences. Again, you should write your answer or write the ideas in two separate sentences. Let's take an example. For example, please write down this short sentence. Please write it down. Please write it down and take note of the question below it. The destruction of forests by man to make new roads and settlements and to provide agricultural land also wreaked havoc. The destruction of forests by man to make new routes and settlements and to provide agricultural land also wreaked havoc. The question is, in 3 sentences, one for each, summarize why the forest was destroyed. And I'm going to give you time to do that. And all the answers you mentioned, I write it down. Okay? So in the next 1 minute, I'll take this slide off and write your answers down. And then compare it with what I have here. The destruction of forest by man to make new roads and settlements and to provide agricultural land also wreaked havoc. In 3 sentences, one for each, summarize why the forests were destroyed. Summarize why the forests were destroyed. Yes, who's ready? I have Dom, Teresa, Asidu, Petra, and Kelvin. Who's ready?
Sir,
Yes.
the forest was destroyed to improve infrastructure development.
So to improve infrastructure development. Okay, that's fine. Any other answer? I said 3. Yes.
The forest was destroyed to provide agricultural land.
Okay, to provide agricultural land. That's fine. Please hold on. Let us finish with all our 3 points. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I was saying for a human settlement.
Please, who is this? Your name?
Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic.
So I was saying for
yeah. So please, Dominic. The thing is that put your answer in a simple sentence form, okay?
Okay.
Put your answer in a simple sentence form. That's the acceptable way you're supposed to answer a summary passage. Please.
Sir.
Yes.
For agricultural purposes.
I'm listening.
For agricultural purposes.
Okay. Okay, so the point is correct too, but you're not putting it in a simple sentence form. If you say for agricultural purposes, it's not a simple sentence form.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir.
So, yes. Who's ready?
Okay.
Florence, I'm listening.
Said to provide good agricultural land.
So, okay, your point is correct, no problem. I think I will have to address the way you are providing your answers.
Sir.
That's fine. Yes, go ahead. Yes, Florence.
The forest was destroyed to make new routes.
Okay, to make new routes, that's fine, that's correct. Do you have any other? Okay, so your answers are very correct, but there's a little issue with the way you are giving me your answer. You see that most of you are either saying for agreed purposes, or you are beginning the sentence with to improve. Okay, what is meant to improve? What? Now let's go back to the slide, and you will see how your answer should be written. Let's go back to the screen, and then you will see how it will be written. Now these are the answers. These are the answers. In 3 sentences, one for each, summarize why forests were destroyed. Check my answers and you have the main idea. But your answer wasn't in a simple sentence form. Your answer, it wasn't written in a simple sentence form. If you say to improve infrastructure, it is not a simple sentence. For agreed purposes, when you begin your sentence with for, it's sentence must begin objects. Okay, so when you look at the first one, for example, man wanted to make roads. That's the first answer. This is a simple sentence because the word man here is the subject. Wanted is the verb. And road is the object. Okay, so man wanted to make roads. Simple sentence, correct. Number 2, man wanted to provide accommodation, correct. Number 3, man wanted to farm. And so those who said man wanted to kind of for agreed purposes, the agreed here, I told you must try your best to write your answer in your own word. So instead of saying agric, you can say farm. Okay? Instead of saying, for example, accommodation, instead of saying infrastructure, you can say accommodation. Because in the question, it says, is anyone talking?
Sir, please, I can't hear you well.
Okay. So in the you can't hear me.
Sir, I can't hear it well. Your
Okay. Let me check something about you. Can you hear me now?
Sir,
Yes,
it's okay.
it's okay.
Let me go back to the slide. Let me quickly go back to the slide. So those who said for agreed purposes, okay, you could have just said for farming purposes, okay, but it must be in a simple sentence. Please take note of that. So again, man wanted to farm. Man wanted to farm. Or man wanted to provide accommodation. Again, you can say for last week. So can I go ahead? So therefore, these answers would suffice a question. And these answers will suffice the question because they are in a simple sentence form and they have been able to be written in a way that it is short, precise, and straightforward. Now, take note of the following. It is important for you, one, to demonstrate adequate acquisition of vocabulary. It's very important. With summary passage, later on, after we are done with summary, we'll come to what we call registers. Registers. All these forms of English language, all these aspects of English language in senior high school require you to read more and to get more vocabulary. Even when we come and talk about essay writing, you will see that it requires you to get more information. You are supposed to provide your answers in your own ways as much as possible. Try to avoid the use of the words in the passage because that will amount to lifting. You might not get the full marks. But if you're able to provide your own answers, the answers in your own ways, you would get the full marks. And number 3, be simple and straightforward with your answers. This is what I will tell you. So far, I have been emphasizing on these 3 things all the time about summary passage. We have come to the end of the lesson today. I want you to take care and then enjoy your day.